Hey, this is Leo for Actualized.org, and in this video, we're going to talk about the self-image. Hey, okay, welcome back. Let's crack into this one, the self-image. This is going to be a quick breeze through what self-image is, because self-image is such a powerful idea, such a transformative idea. First of all, I love this topic because of the potential it has to completely transform the quality of your life. I'm talking about ridiculous levels of transformation possible by understanding and utilizing this concept. So we're going to break into it, but there's so much here. I can't cover it all in just 15 or 20 minutes. So let's pack in as much as we can, get you a really solid intro to self-image, hopefully convince you of the importance of further study on this topic and taking some of these actions to heart. All right, so self-image, what is it? Well, a lot of these ideas that I'm bringing to you are really coming from Maxwell Maltz's classic self-help book, Psycho-Cybernetics. If you haven't checked that out and you want to be a serious student of self-help, I really recommend it. Of all the books I've read, I think this is one of the most powerful, important, practical tools that you can use to transform your life is Psycho-Cybernetics. It is ridiculously powerful. Here are some of the key points. So Maxwell Maltz, he was actually a doctor. He was a plastic surgeon back in the 50s, I believe, 1950s. And what he discovered is he started looking into psychology. But the reason that he started looking into psychology and people's self-images was because he started to do plastic surgery. I mean, he was doing plastic surgery, and then he noticed a couple of interesting things. The first thing he noticed is that he would make changes on people that had crippling emotional problems because of how they looked. For example, they would have some deformity on their face, which they thought would make them ugly and unacceptable, or they thought that they had too big of a nose, or their lips were too small, or they had wrinkles, or something like that. And Maxwell Maltz would go in there and he would cut them up, fix them up, and make them pretty. And when he did that, what he noticed, much to his shock, was that even though he could take an ugly person and change that person's face totally around and make them beautiful and pretty, that person, two things would happen. Two types of patients. One patient, his life would be radically transformed. His self-confidence would be boosted. His self-image would be awesome. He would feel great. He'd have a lot of self-esteem. And he'd go out and he'd really change his life. He'd have a life transformation that would last for the rest of his life. That happened with some of the patients. With some of the other patients who also went through that same procedure, what would happen is that they would still think that they're ugly, even though objectively they were now beautiful. And in fact, some of the patients were so upset with Maltz that they accused him of not having made any changes to their face at all. They would accuse him basically of being a charlatan, of being a quack. And of course, he made changes, but that person, here's where we're getting to self-image, had such a strong self-image of who they were before the operation that self-image still remained even after the operation. And even though the physical features changed, it's the self-image that really determines how you feel about your life and even what you believe is true. So this is an extremely powerful concept. Let's really define self-image. What is self-image? Self-image is a subconscious framework for how you see life and yourself and what you believe and what you think is true. And this applies to reality and it applies to yourself. So every belief that you have is part of your self-image. What you think of yourself, of course, is the self-image, but also what you think is possible. That's also part of your self-image. For example, do you think it's possible for you to be earning $1 million a year? Do you really believe that? If you do, then that's part of your self-image. If you don't, if that sounds ridiculous to you, sounds like a fairy tale, like wishful thinking, that's not part of your self-image. And so that pathway of reality basically is blocked off to you. What's happening here is that in your mind is creating a map, a mental model of reality and how the world works. And this model, this is the really tricky part about it, is that it's mostly subconscious. You're not aware of it. You're not aware of all the assumptions that you make about how your world works, how society works, how life works, and how you work, who you are. You have all sorts of assumptions that get in there mostly unconsciously by being programmed and conditioned as you're growing up, by your parents, by all the friends you interact with through school, basically every single person that you come into contact with. And not just people, but also circumstances that happen to you, and just even simple things like experiences that you have when you put your hand near a hot stove, and you learn your lesson from that real quick, right? But that gets seared into your subconscious, and that's part of your self-image and your model of reality is that you don't put your hand near hot objects because that has hurt you in the past, that's burned you, literally. So this is what you've got this self-image, and this self-image is like a large, I like to think of it of a ball of yarn. Think of it like you have a ball of yarn that's this big, and there's like literally hundreds of strands of yarn in there, and they're all tangled up and bunched up together. And that's been built up over the last basically all the years of your life up to this point. Is all the experiences have come in and taught you different lessons, give you different beliefs and assumptions, and it's all congealed into this tight ball of yarn, and it's a pretty big mess in there. And all of it is sitting below the surface, so you don't even see it. You maybe see a little corner, a little piece of the yarn here, a little piece of the yarn there. And what's powerful and important about all this is that this is determining your actions. I have other videos on this that talk about the power of the subconscious mind, but the key takeaway from those videos that I'm just going to throw at you here real fast is simply that 95%, I would say, of your behaviors and actions are subconscious. So the results in your life are largely subconscious. You're not conscious of the results you're getting. And your body is like a thermostat, and your mind is like a thermostat, and it tends to keep you in a state of homeostasis and equilibrium. So that is why it's hard to make change, and that's why you're stuck where you are right now. That's why you're stuck earning as much money as you do. You're stuck at the weight level that you're stuck at. You're stuck at your happiness kind of set point. You're stuck in your relationships kind of where you've always been. And so you're kind of tend to be stuck there. And if you want to create big change, then you've got to start looking below the surface into this big ball of yarn. You start to unravel that stuff and looking at the self-image. So what's powerful about the self-image is that anything that you really believe to be true is something that you're going to then align your behaviors and your actions with. So your behaviors and really your whole personality and what you think of yourself and what you think of the world and how you then go and act, the things you then do in your life, this is very practical, the things you do in your life are all shaped by what you believe is true. And the crazy thing here is that it doesn't matter if you believe it to be true and it's false. You'll still operate based on that belief, because by definition, a belief is believed to be true by you, and so it feels as though it's true. And there are many things in your self-image that are complete horseshit, false fabrications, complete illusions. And that is keeping you stuck where you are. So if you want to prop yourself out of that, and you want to get going, and you want to create some big change in your life, whether with your career, your relationships, or your fitness, or anything else, or just how you even think about yourself, then you have to start to dig into self-image and do some of this work. So when you actually start to change your self-image, and this is possible, it's possible to change your self-image, then you start to create lasting changes that are sustainable, that are not like a yo-yo effect, that actually last. And that's how you can create massive weight loss. That's how you can create massive success with the opposite sex. That's how you can create massive success with your finances and your business. That's how you can create massive success personally in your own psychology, just how you feel, how you think, becoming more positive rather than negative, dropping anxiety, dropping depression, dropping alcoholism. All of this stuff happens by working on your self-image. Whether you do it consciously or not, you're still working on your self-image. This is why it's so powerful. Let me give you a couple of examples now of what self-image is on a more practical level. These are thoughts about you. So there's thoughts about reality. Let's talk about thoughts about yourself. What do you see yourself as being? Because who you see yourself as is what your life is going to reflect. It's a really powerful idea. Your thoughts reflect your life, and your life also reflects your thoughts. So there is an interaction there. It's a two-way street. It's not a one-way street. Right now, you probably think that, well, what I think about myself is just what's real. It's the experiences that I've had, And if I believe that I'm, for example, a poor speller, I'm not good at spelling, well, that's because I've got all this evidence to back that up. I've always failed spelling tests. I always make a lot of typos. People keep telling me I'm a bad speller. I didn't do good at school, so I must be a bad speller, right? Maybe you are, maybe you're not. But the fact that it's in your subconscious now, it's in that big ball of yarn, it's part of your self-image. Now your life is going to start to reflect that, and it's going to start to create self-fulfilling prophecy effect, which can be extremely dangerous, and it can propagate the fact that you are a poor speller. So maybe you were a poor speller in the past. Does not mean you can't change that going forward. But if you believe that you are a poor speller, that's part of your self-image, you really believe it, what chances do you think you have of becoming a good speller? Very little, right? Very, very little. What's really dangerous is when you believe it so much that even what I'm telling you right now just goes over your head and you start coming up with reasons why I'm telling you is not true. But let me assure you that this model of the self-image is very, very true. And there are shocking things about yourself that you believe right now with 100% faith and certainty, which are completely bogus and are completely destroying the quality of your life and your potential to grow. So let's cover a few more of those. We covered I'm a poor speller. What if you believe deep down inside that you're bad at math? You always hated math, didn't like math, you were bad at math at school, you're bad at numbers whenever someone asks you to do some accounting work, some Excel spreadsheet work, you always make mistakes and errors, so now you believe you're bad at math. That can be part of your self-image. How about I'm a failure? Can you imagine what that would do to your life if you really believed that you fail, that you're a failure? What if you believed that you are shy? What if you believed I am shy? I'm just a shy person. I'm an introvert. What if you believe I'm clumsy? I'm always clumsy. I always say the wrong things, do the wrong things, trip into over stuff, bump into things. I'm just a clumsy person. What if you think of yourself as an alcoholic? I am an alcoholic. I have a drinking problem. I always have, always will. That's just who I am. It's in my genes, right? It's genetic. That's a good one, isn't it? Oh, I'm shy because it's genetic. My parents were shy. Oh, I'm a poor speller, my parents were bad spellers. I'm not smart. The verbal part of my brain is just not as sharp as other people. I'm bad at math for the same reason. Or I'm clumsy. I'm just naturally clumsy. Watch out for that genetic and that naturally. Those can be killers. All right, how about money? So many negative self-image problems with money. How about believing this? Money is hard to make. What do you believe about money? Do you believe money is hard to make or is it easy to make? Do you think that has an effect on how much money you have in your bank account? Well, it does, very much so. So look into what you think about money. How about, what if you believed that life is unfair and life is hard and difficult? Life is unfair and difficult and hard. That's kind of an ugly one. What if you believed I'm ugly? You believe that you are ugly and that others see you as being ugly. How do you think that would play out in your life? So these are some just common examples that I might throw at you. You can think of more. There can be a list of literally hundreds, maybe thousands of them. These are just common limiting assumptions and beliefs, part of the self-image that we can have that is perpetuating the low quality life that we have. And I've got these, you've got them. The trick is that we don't even know that we've got them. A lot of these, they sound very silly and simplistic, like something, for example, like I'm a failure. You might say, well, I would never say that I'm a failure. That's just stupid. You recognize that logically. But actually deep down inside, you actually believe that you're a failure. Because a lot of the things that are in your self-image are completely illogical, stupid, foolish, until you articulate them. The problem is that you don't even know what they are. You haven't dug into that ball of yarn to find out. Or something like, I'm ugly. You might never have even articulated to yourself that you are ugly, but maybe deep down inside, you actually believe it. And that's why you have a lot of the relationship problems that you have, is because you need the other person to come and give you compliments and to praise you all the time and to lavish you with love. And whenever he or she is not doing that, you feel rejected, you feel angry, you feel bitter, and then that relationship falls apart because you create a lot of stress and drama because you want more love and you want more affection from the other person, and that drives the other person away from you. But you need it ultimately because deep down, without even realizing it, you believe that you are ugly and you need other people to basically counteract that belief, and so you want them to be showering you with compliments all the time. Kind of deep, kind of powerful, right? But that is how it works. It's crazy how the mind can work. So let's move on and let's talk about wrapping up here and talking about, what kind of can you do about this, and where is all this leading to? So ultimately, what I want you to take away from this video, because I can't cover all the steps of how to actually start to affect your self-image right now, but I want you to take away this idea that this is something that's real, this is something that's extremely important, this is something that your mind should be focused on and thinking about, and that this is where change happens. You know the old saying where they tell you if you're going to be lifting some heavy object, you want to lift it with your legs and not your back, because if you lift it with your back, you're going to strain your back, and you're not going to be as strong as if you lift it from your legs. And so you have to kind of train yourself to lift from your legs when you're moving something heavy. Maybe you've run across this when you were moving your house or moving heavy boxes or that washing machine or that TV. Well, that can apply here with doing personal development work. And where it applies is this. Right now, if you're trying to get some sort of change in your life, what you're probably doing is you're using your willpower to say, okay, enough is enough, I'm going to go on a diet, and then you try to do that diet. Or enough is enough, I'm going to go try to earn some more money by starting a business, and you start that new business. Or at least you try. And what happens, you've probably noticed this, is that you quickly fall off because your willpower breaks. It breaks. It's like your back. It's like using your back to lift something. There are times when you can do that, and it's fine to do it, and I think building willpower is great. But the key, if you want lasting, massive change in your life, transformation, then what you got to start doing is you've got to start doing work in your subconscious, because your subconscious is the power center of your results. The subconscious is where 95% of your action is stemming from. So that's what you got to work on. And that is working on your self-image. It's working on your beliefs. It's doing more of this deeper introspection work. And one of the ways that you can work on that is through coaching. Coaching is really good for getting you these insights, bring stuff up from your subconscious, getting you to realize things that you haven't really realized before. And the last point I'm going to end on is the fact that, yes, you can change the subconscious. It's actually not that difficult, but it does take persistence. It takes about 21 days, as Maxwell Maltz talks about in Psychocybernetics. He says it takes about 21 days to really create a lasting change in your self-image. So that is why, for example, if you're keeping on diets, or if you're doing a habit, you're taking up some sort of new habit, it's going to take you at least 21 days, maybe a month or two, to really lock that in. It's because it's supposed to permeate into the subconscious, and that is a form of working on your self-image. All right, this is Leo. I'm signing off. That's all I have to say on self-image right now. Go ahead, leave me your comments. Like this, please share it. I really want to hear comments from you because I do use the feedback that I get, the discussion that goes down in the comment section. I do use that to polish up what I'm doing, gives me ideas for new videos to shoot. So if you have questions, need clarification, go ahead and pop a comment or a question down below. And then, of course, check out Actualized.org, where you can sign up to the free newsletter. Really encourage it because we release exclusive content there, articles, weekly videos, downloads, new products that I'm going to be working on and releasing over the next few years. So sign up for that. We're not going to spam you. And of course, you also get some nice bonuses for doing that. You get an exclusive 19-part video series, which talks about busting limiting beliefs. Actually goes really well along with working on your self-image. And you can get a chance to win 2 hours of free coaching, which I give away every month to one of my subscribers. So go ahead and sign up.